When it comes to relationships, a lot of women make a mistake by assuming that a man silence means he's done, he's lost interest, or he does care. Let me tell you something that most people don't understand. And it's crucial if you want to truly navigate the dynamics between men and women. Silence is temporary for a man who cares. I don't care what anyone tells you. A man who has genuine feelings for you will not stay quiet forever. That quiet, that space, that pause, it's not a rejection. It is him processing his emotions. Him trying to figure out how to approach you in the right way, how to say the right things, and how to be honest without creating conflict or making things awkward. You see, men are different from women when it comes to emotional expression. Women talk. Women analyze. Women process by speaking. Men do not. Men internalize. They think, they reflect, they weigh every possible outcome in their heads before they speak. And when a man is silent, it doesn't always mean he's cold or uninterested. Most of the time, it means he cares so much that he doesn't know exactly how to express it. That is the truth. I've had women come to me all the time saying, Steve, he called me in 3 days. I think he's over me. And my response is always the same, 3 days. Let him be. Sit back. Breathe. Understand that silence is not always the end of the story. It's just a chapter in it. Men process differently. Sometimes they need space to deal with their emotions before they can approach you. Sometimes they need time to decide if they are ready to commit, to be vulnerable, and to admit exactly how they feel. And if you understand this, you won't panic. You won't jump to conclusions. You won't start chasing them and pushing them away at the same time. You will wait because you understand the language of men, even when they are silent. Now, I want to tell you something important. A man who does care, a man who's not interested, will use silence as a weapon. He will disappear, and he will leave you guessing without ever giving you any indication that he feels anything. But the man who does care, listen to me closely, he will be silent because he's thinking about you. He will be silent because he's trying to figure out how to approach you without scaring you off. He will be silent because he's wrestling with his own pride, his own fears, and maybe even his own insecurities. And the difference between a man who doesn't care and a man who does is that the one who cares eventually breaks the silence. He eventually calls. He eventually texts. He eventually shows up. And when he does, it's not random. It's intentional. Think about it like this. Imagine a man has feelings for a woman, but he's scared of rejection. Maybe he's afraid of saying the wrong thing. Maybe he's afraid of being too emotional. Maybe he doesn't know she feels the same way. That silence you're experiencing, that's him weighing the possibilities. That's him building up the courage to step out of his comfort zone. Men are taught from a young age to man up and hide their emotions, but that doesn't mean the emotions aren't there. It just means they are sitting quietly, building inside until they become too strong to contain. And when that moment comes, when he finally reaches out, you will realize that silence was never the absence of feeling it. Was the presence of care, the presence of thought, the presence of love that hadn't yet been spoken. I want you to picture this. A woman is at home, wondering if a man is thinking about her, if he's missing her, if he even cares. She's anxious. She's questioning herself. She's doubting everything. And meanwhile, that man is lying awake at night thinking about her. He's thinking about the way she laughs, the way she smells, the way she makes him feel like he's actually capable of being more than he thought he could be. He's replaying moments in his head, trying to figure out how to communicate that to her without making it awkward or too much too soon. That silence is not emptiness, it's calculation, it's emotion, it's love in its rawest, most internalized form. And if a woman understands this, she will not freak out over the silence. She will not lose herself in worry or anxiety. She will understand that what is quiet now will speak later, and what is hidden now will be revealed in time. Here's another thing you need to understand. Men are often afraid of their own hearts. A lot of women don't realize this. A man can be completely in love with you, but his pride, his fear, and his past experiences might make him hesitate to express it. Maybe he's been hurt before. Maybe he's been rejected before. Maybe he's seen love fail and he doesn't want to be vulnerable again. So silence becomes his shield. It's not a weapon, it's a safety net. He's trying to protect himself and the woman he cares about. But that silence is temporary. A man who really cares will eventually let that guard down because love is stronger than fear. And when that happens, when he finally opens up, you will see that he had been feeling more than you could imagine the entire time he was quiet. Let me give you a story, something I see all the time on my show. A woman came to me crying, saying, "Steve, he hasn't called me in a week. I think he's done. I think he's over me." And I asked her to tell me about the relationship, about the man, about how he treated her. And after listening carefully, I realized he was a man who truly cared, but he had just lost his job, was dealing with family issues, and was embarrassed to reach out while he was struggling. That week of silence, it wasn't because he didn't care, it was because he was trying to get his life together so that when he did contact her, he could show up as the man she deserved. And guess what happened? On the 8th day, he called her, explained everything, and admitted exactly how he felt. And the woman realized that the silence was never about indifference. It was about him processing life while still caring deeply for her. That's the kind of understanding that changes the way you see men and their silence. You see, when a man cares, his silence is like a ticking clock. It's temporary. It's a pause that exists only because he's gathering courage, clarity, or resources. But eventually the feelings inside him become too strong to contain. Eventually he will contact you. Eventually he will show up. And when that happens, you'll understand that every day of waiting, every moment of uncertainty was simply him preparing to express the love he felt all along. That's why I always tell women, do not panic over a man's silence. Do not fill the space with doubt or frustration. Understand that a man's quietness is often the very evidence that he cares more than he's able to express at the moment. And let me be clear, this doesn't mean you should wait around forever for someone who's not showing genuine signs of investment. You've got to be able to read the signals. But if the man has shown consistent care, effort, and emotional interest in the past, understand that silence is just a season. It is not a sentence. It is not a statement of rejection. It is a moment of reflection, calculation, and preparation for the truth he will eventually reveal. So remember this, ladies, if a man really cares, his silence is temporary. He will contact you. He will express himself. He will admit everything he's feeling. And when he does, you will understand that love doesn't always shout, it sometimes waits quietly, gathering strength until it can no longer be ignored. The key is to have patience, trust the process, and understand the language of men, even when it is silent. Because the truth is, the man who loves you will never truly be silent forever. He will find his voice, and when he does, it will be louder and more honest than you ever imagined. When it comes to understanding men and relationships, women often get caught up in what a man says instead of what he actually does. You see, words are cheap, words are easy. Anyone can say, "I love you" or "I care about you," but actions show the truth of what a man really feels. That's the part most people overlook. A man who truly values, you won't just talk about his feelings, he will demonstrate them through his behavior consistently over time. And when you start paying attention to his actions rather than his words, you'll realize the clarity you've been searching for has been right in front of you all along. A lot of women fall into the trap of thinking that if a man tells them he loves them, that should be enough. But let me tell you something. Love is shown, not just spoken. A man can say he cares, but if he doesn't make the effort to be present, if he doesn't prioritize you, if he doesn't act in ways that reinforce his words, then those words mean very little. On the other hand, a man who consistently shows up, who invests his time, energy, and thought in your life is someone whose feelings are genuine, even if he isn't always verbally expressive. Men love differently, and their language is often action-based. If you understand that, you'll stop wasting your energy questioning his silence or doubting his intentions. You'll start seeing the truth in what he does rather than what he says. Let me give you a real example of what I'm talking about. A woman came to me upset, saying, "Steve, he hasn't told me he loves me, so I don't know where I stand." And I asked her to tell me about his actions. I said, "How does he treat you when you're together? Does he make time for you? Does he listen? Does he support you?" And she realized that even though he hadn't said the words "I love you" out loud, he showed up for her consistently. He remembered important dates. He was there when she needed him. He made sacrifices, big and small, to make her feel cared for. And in that moment, she realized that his actions spoke louder than words ever could. That's what I'm talking about when I say actions over words. Men who care will prove it in ways that matter. They will call when they said they would, not just talk about calling. They will make time for you, not just talk about how much they want to be with you. They will prioritize your happiness, even in ways that are subtle, because a man who truly cares measures his love by what he does, not what he says. And here's the thing, sometimes women have to train themselves to see these signs. Sometimes women are so focused on verbal expressions of love that they miss the thousands of ways a man demonstrates his feelings without saying a word. You see, men are practical creatures. They are action-oriented. They show love through their work, their commitment, their willingness to sacrifice, and their consistent presence in your life. If he's putting effort into your life, if he's showing up when it matters, if he's following through on his promises, those are all signs that he values you. Words alone can be empty, but actions are tangible. Actions are proof. Actions are undeniable. And when you pay attention to what a man does rather than what he says, you'll see the truth about his feelings much more clearly than if you waited for him to verbalize every thought in his head. Let me tell you something else that most women don't realize. Men are often terrified of being vulnerable with words. They don't always know how to express themselves. They've been conditioned to appear strong, to hide their emotions, and to avoid showing too much feeling verbally. But the way a man behaves, the choices he makes, the attention he gives, the consistency he demonstrates, that's his language of love. You can read a man's heart by watching his actions. If he invests his time, protects your heart, prioritizes your needs, and keeps his promises, he is telling you everything you need to know, even if his mouth hasn't caught up yet. I want you to imagine this. A woman waits for him to say, "I love you," but he's constantly there for her. He calls to see how her day went. He remembers the little things she mentions. He shows up when she's sick, when she's stressed, when life gets hard. He's there. That is love. That is commitment. That is proof that he cares. Words are temporary. Actions are lasting. And a woman who understands this will never doubt a man who shows up consistently, even when he hasn't said the exact words she's been waiting for. Now, I know women who hear this might think, but Steve, shouldn't he also say it? Yes, communication is important. Yes, verbal affirmation matters. But if you're looking for the truth, the ultimate indicator of a man's feelings is in what he does. You cannot build a solid relationship on words alone. Anyone can say anything. The man who proves his love, the man who demonstrates his commitment, the man who acts in ways that show care and respect, that is the man whose feelings you can trust. And here's the reality. Men who love deeply will always back up their words with action. They will not just tell you what you want to hear. They will show you through consistent effort, attention, and prioritization. That is how men communicate love. And if a woman can learn to read this language, she will save herself a lot of heartache, confusion, and frustration, because you'll know the truth not by what he says, but by what he does. I've seen this in my own life, and I've seen it thousands of times on my show. Women come to me worried because their man hasn't said the words. But when we dig into the story, it's clear that he's constantly showing up, making sacrifices, and proving his feelings in ways that matter. And when the woman realizes that, it changes everything. She stops overanalyzing, stops stressing over the silence, and starts appreciating the tangible proof that he's invested in her life. That's when a relationship starts to feel real, safe, and strong. Let me be very clear. A man who only talks but doesn't act is not a man you can trust with your heart. But a man who acts, even when words are scarce, is someone whose feelings run deep. He doesn't need to tell you he cares because his actions are speaking for him every day. And that is why I always tell women, stop obsessing over what he says. Start noticing what he does. Look at how he shows up. Look at how consistent he is. Look at how he prioritizes you. That is the language of love. And that is the truth about men that too few women understand. When you pay attention to actions over words, you start to see patterns. You start to understand intentions. You start to recognize sincerity. A man who is inconsistent in his actions is likely inconsistent in his feelings. A man who consistently shows effort, care, and presence is a man who values you. And when you understand this, you stop wasting time on games, misunderstandings, and empty promises. You start seeing the relationship clearly for what it is. And that clarity changes everything. Women, here's what I want you to remember. Love is demonstrated, not just spoken. A man who cares will act. He will show up. He will prove himself. And the beauty of this is that actions don't lie. Actions are reliable. Actions are tangible. Actions give you evidence that you can trust, even when words fail. So, if you want to understand what a man truly feels, watch what he does. Not just today, not just once, but over time. Because consistency in action is the ultimate proof of love, care, and commitment. And the amazing thing about this is that when you start focusing on his actions rather than his words, you start to feel more secure, more confident, and more empowered in the relationship. You stop doubting. You stop overthinking. You stop trying to read between the lines. You see the truth plainly because actions don't lie. And that, ladies, is how you can navigate relationships with clarity, confidence, and wisdom. One of the hardest lessons a woman can learn in love is that patience is a strength, not a weakness. So many women come to me frustrated, upset, anxious, worried because the man they care about isn't moving at the pace they want. They want texts, calls, declarations, commitments, and sometimes the man isn't giving those things fast enough. And that's when panic sets in. That's when doubt creeps in. That's when fear starts whispering. Maybe he doesn't care. Maybe he's lost interest. Maybe this isn't going to work. And I have to stop them right there, because patience is not just waiting, it's understanding, observing and trusting that the right man will act in due time. And that, ladies, is one of the most powerful tools you can have in love. Let me tell you something about men. Men are not women. Men think differently, they process differently, and they move differently when it comes to matters of the heart. A man who truly cares is not going to rush in head first and say everything at once. Even if he feels deeply, he is going to measure, assess, and ensure that when he commits, when he expresses, when he acts, it is genuine and sustainable. That's why patience is so critical. If a woman cannot wait, if she cannot give a man the space to process his emotion, she risks pushing him away, even if his feelings are real and profound. And that's why women who master patience in love are the ones who see the truest form of commitment from men. I remember a woman came to me years ago saying, "Steve, he hasn't called me in 3 days. I'm so anxious. I don't know what to do." And I said to her, 3 days, that's nothing. Sit down and breathe. I told her, if a man really cares, 3 days won't make him disappear. 3 days won't make him forget you. He's not gone. He's just processing. And she looked at me like she didn't believe me. But here's the thing. A week later, he called, explained what he was dealing with, admitted his feelings, and they started a deeper, stronger connection than before. That's the power of patience. If she had panicked, if she had chased him, if she had demanded immediate communication, that connection might never have existed. Patience allowed the truth to surface naturally, and it allowed love to develop authentically. Women often misunderstand patience. They think patience is passive. They think patience is letting go and accepting neglect. No, patience is active. Patience is confident. Patience is understanding the rhythm of men and relationships. Patience is saying, I trust the process. I trust that the right man will show up in the right way and at the right time. And that kind of strength is rare, but it is magnetic, because a man notices when a woman can hold her composure, when she can maintain her dignity, when she can remain confident even when things aren't moving as quickly as she wants. And that draws him closer because he sees that she values herself. And when a woman values herself, a man values her even more. I've seen countless relationships where impatience ruined what could have been something extraordinary. A woman would push, prod, demand, or beg for clarity. And instead of getting the response she wanted, she drove the man away. And it's not because he didn't care. It's because he felt cornered, pressured, and unsure if he could meet expectations in the way she demanded and respond to respect, to space, and to understanding. They respond to women who are patient, not to women who panic. And this is why patience is not weakness, it is a superpower in the word of love. Let's be real for a moment. Men are complicated.